Good morning. Welcome to the Heart of Longmont. I am so glad to see you here. Thank you so much for your prayers and concerns for me last week. I was not feeling well, but I am much improved. There had been multiple times during the rich man's life that he had an opportunity to help, to do something. And God kept kind of giving him these opportunities. And he kind of just kept hitting the snooze button. Maybe later. Maybe next time. And the other bad thing about hitting the snooze button too many times is we start to just ignore it altogether. Right? So if God just keeps giving us these calls, come follow me, and we keep saying, not yet, not right now. It's easy to sort of start to ignore that. So I don't want you to do that. So only hit your snooze button once.
Turn the lights down low. Turn the lights down low and listen to the Master's radio. Get in touch with God. Get in touch with God. Turn the radio on. Turn the radio on.
The rich man said, "Then I beg you, Father, send Lazarus to my father's house. I have 5 brothers. But he needs to warn them so that they don't come to this place of agony." Abraham replied, "They have Moses and the prophets. They must listen to them." The rich man said, "No, Father Abraham, but if someone from the dead goes to them, they will change their hearts and lives." Abraham said, "If they don't listen to Moses and the prophets, then neither will they be persuaded if someone rises from the dead."
How many verses do you think are in the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament? How many verses, how many times in the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament do you think that there are mentions of hell? I'm going to give you a second to think about it. Maybe write it down or say it out loud. Okay, I'm going to give you the answer. 0. There are 0 verses in the Hebrew Bible or the Old Testament that consist of the word hell. Jesus hates bad religion. What is ironic is he's not teaching hell to what would be called, quote unquote, the sinners, but he's teaching about going to hell to his disciples, to his followers, to the religious. And he's saying to them, so much of what he is talking about is what they do with their time, their talent, their influence to serve God. What did they do to help the hungry or the thirsty or the immigrant or the sick or the naked or those in prison? He said, because if you didn't do it for them, then you didn't do it for me. Because of that, Jesus says. He says, and you will receive terrible things, he says. And so really, to me, this message is not so much about who's in or who's out, but God cares deeply about how we treat fellow human beings. Is when we don't care about the suffering of other human beings, we essentially find ourselves in hell. See, ideally, what we all hope for at the end of our life is that we hear those words, "Well done, good and faithful servant." And yet the challenge is that we all find ourselves missing the mark. That's what Jesus is getting to. So in many ways, the theology of hell is a reminder, not so much about what's going to happen in the afterlife, but about this life, and that we all need God. We all need forgiveness. It's a reminder of why we need God's grace, God's mercy, and God's willingness to love us despite that we miss the mark over and over and over again.
So now go. From this place, consider how it is that you can be selfless. How is it that you can use your hands and your feet to put more of God's love into the world?
Amen.